Hi there. I hope everyone is on and we are live right now. So thank you so much for joining us. I know your time is precious, so we're going to dive right in. So hello, I'm Kande Hein, Director of Team Firefly, and I'm really excited to be here today to talk about one of my favorite subjects, Google Analytics. Since this is such a techie topic, I feel like you might need a little validity. So here it goes. Now, before Scentsy, I worked at advertising agencies for about 10 years as an advertising executive using my master's degree in marketing to specialize in social media and strategy. My clients ranged from small businesses to multi-million-dollar organizations, and I used Google Analytics to analyze data for every level of client spend. It's free, it's powerful and real time, and can make a significant impact on your marketing efforts and bottom line. So in this training today, we're going to cover 5 specific Google Analytics reports that you will get the most of from your Scentsy business. Now, like I mentioned, these are really powerful reports that are great for even the large businesses and organizations. And so there's so much that you can do with Google Analytics, but we're going to focus on those 5 reports that you need to know. So for much of the call, we're going to do a screen share so that I can show you exactly what I am talking about. So we are going to do that right now. So let's go. And oh, by the way, if you aren't already logged into your Google Analytics account, log in so you can see this data and you can see how I'm talking about how you can look at the data, you can measure it, and then you can implement some changes to make a difference in your marketing efforts. So go ahead and turn those on if you haven't already. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and screen share here. And all right. Okay. So this is what we are going to talk about. The whole call is Google Analytics. So when you go to google.com/analytics, all of this extra is what's added after you push enter. So google.com/analytics, it'll probably auto-populate for you. When you go here and you've already signed up for the account, you're going to go to Access Google Analytics. Now, if you've watched my previous video about how to set up your Google Analytics, then just know that it takes about 3 to 4 minimum hours to populate data. So if you're not seeing any data yet, it may just take a little bit longer. And if it has been longer than that and you're not getting data, then you may not have done the correct information. So feel free to comment below and right here in the YouTube video with any questions you have, and I'll be happy to answer those. Okay, as you can see, I have several Google Analytics accounts set up here for my personal blog, for my Scentsy blog, for my Scentsy YouTube channel, and a few others. So we're going to click on my Scentsy website. That's what we're going to talk about today. Now, the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to change this date range. I'm going to go ahead and change it from March the 1st all the way through today's date, so I can show you a few things. Now, the first thing I'm going to talk about is this dashboard. So when you first go into Google Analytics, you're going to be a little intimidated because there's so many options, but don't be intimidated. It's super simple. I'm going to walk you through it, and you are going to feel smarter than ever and on top of your marketing goals and plan. So this dashboard gives you some really good information, and if you don't learn anything else, this is going to give you some data that you can really work with. So like I showed you up here, you can change that date range. And then this is going to be on each page. This is a chart to show you what is happening as far as traffic goes with your analytics. Now, for an example, you see this really big spike here. Well, if you look, I've got 976,007 sessions. So that means that not 1,000 people came necessarily, but 1,000 times someone was on my website on that day. And it was a huge spike because I did an integrated marketing campaign And that's just fancy talk for saying that I did several pieces of marketing and advertising all at the same time to cause this big spike. So I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. So I can talk about it a little bit more in depth, but I'm going to go ahead and click here. Do you see what I did? This is your annotation. So there's a little arrow here. You're going to click there. And you can create what's called an annotation so that in a year from now, I know what happened to cause that big spike, and I can replicate that activity again so I can get the same results that I am after. So for example, this shows me that I did an integrated campaign, a blog, Google AdWords, Facebook ad, Facebook page, Facebook ad for page likes. And then it gives me everything else that happened during this time period that I have pulled out. A couple others was on March 23rd. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and pull this down. Because of this huge spikes, it makes everything else look like it's flatlined. So I'm going to change this set here so that you can see a little bit better. Let's go ahead and start with March 17th after that big spike. That looks a little bit better, and that's going to be a more natural look to what your analytics will look like. Then you can start seeing those spikes. So here's another spike on the 23rd, 130 sessions. So I've got an annotation right here, so I can see what happened there. So I did a boosted Facebook post from my New Zealand Facebook page that I have set up to specifically target New Zealand. Now, I did this post, or this boosted post, for only $5, and over 2 days, I had 189 website views, and I've gotten lots of interest from that. And by the way, with my New Zealand marketing campaign, just over the last month, so far I have 3 New Zealand recruits from this marketing. So this is proof that Google Analytics does work, because I can see in real time how the Facebook advertising or the post that I'm putting out there, how they're performing. I can see if the time of day is working. I can see if my demographics that I have set up are correct. I can see where the spikes are happening, what kinds of things are causing interest. And I'll show you how to figure out all of that and talk to you about the changes that you can make. So you'll no longer just be throwing money at the wind if you do any kind of Facebook advertising or boosted Facebook post. You will know in real time what is happening, and you can retool to make sure that something is working for you. And I'll give you a quick example of that. So on one of my first posts with this New Zealand campaign, and we're talking about that a lot because I've got some data here to back it up to show you some real examples of how this does work. But originally, I had my Facebook ads specifically targeting or specifically going to my website join page. So what was happening, I could see by my Google Analytics, is that they were going to that page and then they were bouncing off my site, meaning they were leaving my site as soon as they hit that page. Without Google Analytics, I wouldn't have known that. Without Google Analytics, I would have just seen that I put a lot of time and effort and a little bit of money towards some advertising, and nothing came of it. And so then it's kind of where the fun part comes in. You get to make some kind of inferences to what is happening. So I realized what is happening there is this is a relationship business. I hadn't created a relationship. I hadn't had a conversation with these potentials. And so for me just to send them directly to my join page, who's just going to be like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll spend $169 and sign up for this thing I've never heard of before under this lady that I don't know. So it made so much more sense for me to instead target them to like my Facebook page And then I could make those connections. I can friend request them. I can have conversations with them. I can get to know them. I can schedule phone calls. And then eventually I can get them to join my team because I have created that relationship and that trust with them. And so I could see right away how that made a difference. Okay. So that's a little bit more in depth of some of the ways that you can use the information that you are learning from your Google Analytics and apply that to your business. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about the mechanics of the dashboard too. So don't worry about that. Just want to give you some of the really fun information of how you can use that before we dive into the mechanics of it all. Okay, one more annotation I want to note here is the paying your bills with Scentsy, this one here. I didn't boost that post, but it got a really nice little spike here. And the reason being is I think it's because of time of day. So I posted it at 8:45 New Zealand time, which happens to be 1:45 our time here in Central Time. And that got a lot of response. So I am going to replicate whenever I post. So that's something that I learned from that as well. Okay, I am going to pull those annotations back up. A couple of things I want to show you about this time frame is you can change it to anything you like. You can even, if you've just set up your Google Analytics before this call, you can even click on today. See what your traffic looks like today. You can change it to yesterday, last week, last month, even the last just week. So one thing fun that I want to show you is that you can go back if you've had these set up for a while. And I'm going to show you November 23rd. Does anybody know where I'm going with this yet? To December 23rd. And I'm going to apply that. Okay. So you see this big boost of traffic here. Does anybody remember what happened? You guessed it. It was our Holly Jolly Holiday Sale or Jolly Holiday Sale. I'll never get that straight. So it was our Jolly Holiday Sale that happened from December 1st, which happens to be here at the spike, to December 7th, which happens to be here at this spike. So what's really neat about this is, yes, I can see my individual traffic patterns, and I can see the traffic that was coming to my site. But what's also really neat is that just like we can look at our individual analytics, Scentsy can look at all of our collective analytics together. So that means that you might be hearing my 4-year-old in the background, so I'm sorry about that. You know, we're work from home moms. That's how it goes sometimes. Okay, so you can see that our December the 1st through December 1st through December the 7th Jolly Holiday Sale. So Scentsy has those analytics, and they can see how the traffic patterns happened company-wide. And they can make changes to a sale like this again in the future. So for example, I feel like my traffic results sort of follow along to what some of us were feeling. Some of us thought maybe there would be a couple more bundles, and so we pushed that thing like crazy in the beginning. So you can see we have this big spike here in the beginning. But then once people saw there's maybe not as many or maybe not as interesting bundles as we thought, or maybe not as many things, they start kind of dying off. So that traffic kind of starts going down a little bit, and then goes down even more. But then the very last day where there are all the mystery sale and the collective sale, you see I get that big spike again. So it's really fun to see how our audience interacts with our website and interacts with a sale that we have. And it's really fun on Scentsy's side to be able to see those kind of results so that they can kind of retool if they want to see something different happen. Again, I've got some annotations here so I know exactly what happened if I go back and look at this information next year. I'm like, what did I do? Something else that you can do here is we can compare year over year. So I'm going to compare to the same previous period. And so look at this. So the orange line is last year, or 2 years ago, the 14th December. And this is this last December sale. And so thank you, Scentsy, for that huge spike in my business. I really appreciate it. And then you can see that everything gets compared on down on your dashboard. Okay, so I'm going to uncompare here, and then I'm going to go ahead and change us back to where we are now. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to March the 17th. That's when that big spike ended through today. And apply that. All right. So this data, again, is what's happening between those time frames, and you can see the different spikes. And I can show you that you can see where those spikes are coming from and why they have happened, and that will help you on making those annotations. Okay, so let's scroll down a little bit more and look at the rest of your dashboard. Okay, so there is this number called sessions and this number called users. So this means that 510 individual people visited my website 806 times. I'm doing very heavy New Zealand marketing right now, and so this number is exciting for me because it means I have repeat visitors in that country, which is something that I really want to happen, because the more they visit my site, the more opportunity I'm going to have them join our team. Next is the page views. So those users visited 2,000 of my pages. It doesn't mean a whole lot until you see the next number, which is the pages per session. So they visited my website on average 2.5 pages each time they visited. And each time they visited, the average time of duration on my website was 1:39. Now that time does not start until they move from the home page or from the landing page. So if my advertising directed them to the join page and they stayed on the join page for a while and didn't go to another page, then that's going to average in. So you can see how that can feel like a bummer. You want them to be on your website for longer than that, but you have to remember that it's averaging in a lot of information here. And it's also averaging in the people that accidentally land on your website that didn't mean to and that bounce off. Now, I've used that word bounce off a couple of times, and I'm going to talk about that next. That's this number here, your bounce rate. What that means is that if somebody comes to your website and hits the home page and they never go any further, they bounce off of your website. And so that's telling you that 68% of the people are doing that. Now, that number is really hard to say what should be correct for your business because it's going to range so much. But this is about normal. It's good. Sometimes you'll see, if I was to show you that big spike that I had, or if I were to show you this spike that I had with a post that I did about a fire that happened in Christchurch, New Zealand. And I had over 1,300 views of that post, so it performed really well. But if I was to do the bounce rate for that specific day, the bounce rate is really high. And that's because I did a really good job of targeting that ad, because I targeted it to everybody that lives in Christchurch, New Zealand, and this was about a house fire from a candle in Christchurch, New Zealand. So it got a lot of views, and that worked, but it wasn't targeting the people who were necessarily converting over into potentials. So you can see how that bounce rate can vary based on what you are currently doing in your marketing efforts. So I'd say if it's around this amount, it's pretty good. 40% or so is, I don't know, I haven't seen it really much lower than that. And that's because the internet, we have organic searches, just meaning that people in China accidentally land on your website, and that's going to count as a bounce rate whenever they leave right away. And so that, again, is averaging in. If somebody stays in your website for 10 minutes and somebody stays in your website for 0 minutes, then you can see how that takes down your average pretty quickly. Okay, the next number here is the percentage of new sessions. So this is the percentage of people that are brand new to your site that have never been to your site before. And so again, this might fluctuate depending on what you're currently doing in your marketing efforts. If you've just had a big event and you've really pushed your Facebook page or website, and you've talked to people about, and you've brought them into the website, then you might see that this really spikes for a month or so after that event, that it's a really high new percentage. If you are working on a campaign, you're really working on your customer survey. And when I say campaign, it doesn't have to be some like big marketing advertising campaign that's really complicated. I just mean if you have a concentrated effort on customer service and you are really trying hard to reach out to your customers, let them know that they're special, get their repeat business, then you might see a much lower new session rate. And that is good for your business. And so you have to look at this data and also make inferences and know what's happening with your business. So another really great thing about the Google Analytics is that it gets you in that mind frame of understanding how what you are putting out there is coming back, even if you're not seeing it right away in sales and recruits and hostesses. So it gives you a little bit of excitement kind of along the way before those things happen. It's sort of like if you were losing weight and you weren't allowed to weigh yourself for 6 months and you just weren't sure how it was going. And then versus if you did the same thing and you got to see that you lost a pound every day. You're going to have a lot more excitement and motivation along the way if you kind of get to see those little mini excitement. So let's scroll down a little bit more. Oh, and this little chart is just your new session chart. So it's just giving you the 61% over here and showing you what that looks like in a pie chart form. Now, when we scroll down, we can look at a couple of these items I'm going to note. Now, this dashboard is just an overview of your information, and you can drill down as far as you want to go. And so I'm going to show you how to drill down on some of this information momentarily. So language. This is going to tell me that, of course, my English US is number 1 and my English New Zealand is number 2. This one, they're just not reporting. So Google Analytics is pulling the data from every single computer has a different IP address. And so that's how they know where these people are coming from, what their demographics are. And so these people just don't have a language set up on their computer. So many of those are probably my New Zealanders that just don't have that set up. So I want to see that high up because that's what I'm focusing on now. Next is country. So again, what I want to be focusing on, what I want to see is US is always going to be number 1. It's where my business is. And New Zealand's number 2. And then it starts getting super exciting because you can break it down to city. So you can see what cities are viewing your website the most in those specific time periods. Now, some things that are really fun and one of the most exciting things for me is that you can use this for a recruiting tool. So I'll give you an example. This January, we were at Leadership in Cancun. And I had met a few different people and talked to them about the recruiting opportunity. And I had talked to one lady and I made her a video on the beach and I shot it to her and I was really excited about her joining. Well, I logged on to, and I sent her my join, my join information and the website and whatnot. And so I was really excited, and I was able to, in real time, log into my Google Analytics account, and I could see that somebody had viewed my website from Cancun. And then I could click on that information, and I could see what pages they were viewing on my website. And she was viewing my join page. So then I knew that I had somebody that was really interested right away. So I did a couple other little things to help her along, because I knew that she in particular was really interested. And within a month, she was a new recruit. So again, that's how you can use the analytics to your benefit for even recruiting. So you saw me click on a city. And that's because I can drill down a little further. This happens to be my city, it's Harker Heights. So I can see the number of sessions that are here, the percentage of new users. So everything that I see on that dashboard, overall traffic, I can drill that down to see just specifically Harker Heights. And you can see that I've got a lot higher quality of viewers in my town here. I have a really low bounce rate, a lot of pages per session, a lot higher average session duration. And so that is what you want to see. Okay, so let's go back to dashboards. Let's go back to dashboards. Okay. Oh, whoops, it reset me. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go over to the left side here, where we're going to get in depth on a few of these reports that I have been talking about. The very first one that we are going to look at is this audience overview. Now, this is a lot of the information that was on that this dashboard page. It's just giving you all your overview for what your traffic looks like. Then you can drill down to demographics. Again, you can look at that overview. Now, because I did some Facebook and Google AdWords advertising, it's not pulling that data for me right now because it's within this time set that I've scheduled. But yours will most likely pull those demographics. And if I change that time period, it would pull that information. But you can utilize that information because you may think that your demographic is a 21-year-old to a 35-year-old. So you may be posting things that are a little edgier, that are, a little bit more fun, something that's a little bit more in their life stage. But your demographics may tell you something different. Your demographics may say that your highest group that's coming to your website is 45 to 64-year-old women. And it's going to completely change how you post whenever you're having those conversations. And you can see that those demographics might change with your time period, depending on, again, what is happening in your business. If you just had an event that was at a gun show, or what have you, that's a little older demographic, or a home and garden show, then you might see a higher demographic. If you see one that's at a, spouses club, then you might see a younger demographic. So those are just how you can use that to make sure that your posts are on target. Your gender is going to most likely be female for the most part, but you could be surprised whenever you look at that a little closer. Okay, next I want to look at geo. This is geographics. It's probably one of my favorite parts of the report because I know exactly where this is coming to. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down here and see. This is basing the geographics on our language. So it's breaking all of these percentages down again based on the language. And so I can see the quality of the sessions based on those language sets. Then I can look at the location, and this is what I love because it shows me that within that time period, look at how much of the globe I've covered. So, you know, even though I've had 2 sessions from Russia, that covers a lot of the globe. So it makes my map look really pretty. I'm going to give you another view here. And this shows you by country, that same data again. And then you can drill down by city by clicking here. You also can click on continent and subcontinent as well. So for me, I really like that city because I can look, and even looking at this now, I don't know many people in San Francisco. And so I can really make an inference to who might be viewing my website. And I can click on that and see what pages they are viewing and maybe strike up a conversation. Also, it's really funny, Meridian is on here. I don't know why I've had 12 sessions in Meridian on my website, but I can go in and see what pages they're looking at and maybe make some inferences to that. Okay, next is behavior. Now this is really just going to tell you what the behavior is of your demographic. So we've seen this chart before, the new versus the returning, and it's going to break those down a little bit closer for you. And you can see where you're getting more of the quality. So the brand new visitors, 81% bounce rate, but then the returning visitors is only 47% bounce rate. So it makes a lot of sense, right? So it's really cool how you start looking at those things and you're like, yep, that clicks, that makes some sense. But then you see something, you're like, that doesn't look right. Then that's where the magic happens, because you can figure out that it's because you just you're not posting to the right demographic, or an ad that you have running is just not working. So you can find those things and figure out how to retool. Okay, so next is, this is not one that you need to necessarily pull. You can look at this information if you want to, but I want to go to the behavior down here actually. So I'm going to click on acquisition first. And so we are on the number 4 of the 5 reports. So we talked about the dashboard, the audience overview and demographics report, the geographics for language and location, and we're about to talk about acquisition. And we're going to talk about that overview, all the traffic, the source and the referrals, and then we'll talk about behavior. So let's look at our overview on acquisition. Now this one's a really cool page too, because it shows me where my traffic is coming from. And so again, I know what is working for my business. And so if I want it to look differently, then I know how to make those changes. So for example, on my report here, a big chunk of it, but I actually have a pretty even chart here, which is nice. It means that that integrated marketing campaign that I'm working on is actually working really well, because I've got traffic coming from each of those locations. And then we're going to scroll down here, and you can see the details of where or how much of this traffic is the percentage of new sessions. Again, those same data points. And then you can click on those and drill down even further. And I can see where I'm getting all of my traffic from. So number 1 is Facebook. It makes sense. It's where we do a lot of our business, and it's where I'm doing some Facebook advertising right now. Also Pinterest. So I haven't been on Pinterest very much lately because I've been focusing my efforts in other places, But this makes me want to rethink that. This makes me look and decide that, oh, I probably need to put some love to my Pinterest account, because 93% of the people coming there have never been to my website before. So that's really exciting. So I need to drill down and take a look and figure out, like, what is happening and what pages are they coming from, so I can drill down. Okay, I'm gonna go back. See if I can just do the back button here. And then there's my blog and Quora. It's a question and answer website. There's only one piece of traffic there, so not a whole lot. Okay, so that was our overview on our social. And then on referral websites. Now, referral websites are lots of different pieces of information, and sometimes they just don't make any sense. So I've got this, I don't know what this is. It says googlesucks.com. That's something that is probably, I don't even have to look. I can tell you it has a 100% bounce rate. 100%. So I hadn't even looked at that, but I knew that whoever's coming to my website from that website is probably not looking for Kande Hein, Scentsy Family Director. So I can see who is referring my website from their website. Okay, Scentsy.com is pretty cool because that means that's that consultant locator that they have. And what's even more cool about that is that they're super low bounce rate. So it means those are really quality visits. And so I can see the exact days that those happen. You see I had 4 sessions, so I can see. It was one on the 23rd, the 2nd, the 7th, and the 11th. And so I am really interested to see what pages they went to. Cool. Okay, I hadn't looked at that before. So I'll have to go take a look at those referrals and see if there are some things that I can do to make contact with those people that found me through the consultant locator. Okay, so let's go back one more time. This is other, so sometimes this is not going to make a lot of sense either, but we'll look. Okay, so this is just the PWS that's listing. And then direct. So this just means they typed in my website directly. So kande.scentsy.us, or probably they typed in my New Zealand website. So you can set up what is called a custom domain name. That can be anything you want, and you can automatically forward it to your Scentsy website. So I have that done for a couple of different URLs, which URL just means Universal Resource Locator. It's your address up in the screen. So I have one set up for www.scentwithlove.us. And whenever you go to that, it automatically sends them to kande.scentsy.us. It's not an external website, so I don't have to register that with Scentsy, but I can use that with my marketing efforts for consistency because I sign everything with Scent with Love, and my YouTube channel is Scent with Love by Kande, etc. And so I can create some consistency. I also can do some really cool things, like when I'm marketing in New Zealand, I can set up a custom domain name that's a New Zealand domain name, so that whenever I'm marketing my New Zealand Facebook page, I have a New Zealand domain name that's attached to that. And right now I have that set up to whenever you click on that domain, that New Zealand domain, it automatically sends you to my join page. So that is why I'm seeing that the #1 page that's being viewed is my join page. And it's because of all of that marketing that I'm doing. So that is the page that people are landing on the most. Okay. And if you have any questions about how to do a custom domain name, please feel free to let me know. Again, you can do it just the YouTube comments, but it's really super simple. So let me know if you're interested in doing that. Okay, so that was our direct, and then organic search literally just means that people are searching for, you know, owl, something, another, and my website happens to come up, and they're coming to my website. It looks like a couple people put Kande Hein Scentsy, and it's coming up. Unfortunately, it looks like somebody typed in Scentsy fragrance bronchitis. I don't know what that's about, but good thing is they bounced from my website as soon as they got there. It wasn't what they were hoping to find, I suppose. So that is that. Okay, so that is our acquisition overview. So let's look at, I'm going to look at, again, this is the referrals, but this is a little bit more of an expanded view of the referrals. So before it was a little bit shorter, and all of these Facebooks are different Facebook advertising pieces. Those letters in front of them is what that means. My blog and Google. So those will make a lot of sense. Okay, next is behavior, and we're going to look at overview. And this is a lot of the same information that we've seen, but I can look again and see the top pages that have been visited on my website. I can look at the site content. I can look at all the pages and again, see the pages that were visited the most. I can do a content drill down and see those specific pages. So the other pages were the pages that were landed on first, and these are the pages that are visited the most. So the buy page, which is good. The enrollment page, which is great. Check out, very good. So those are all ones that I really like to see on top. Landing pages is the pages that are going to be landed on first the most. Your exit pages are the pages that people leave your website on the most. So this doesn't mean a lot for you, and it's not something that you can do a lot about in your reporting, but it is something that Scentsy may look at, and they may see like, wow, a lot of people are leaving on this specific page on our website. It may not be user-friendly enough. So that's why you see Scentsy is always retooling how our website works, is because they're always looking at, I guarantee, these Google Analytics, and they're looking at customer experience, and are probably doing some customer experience surveys and watching people work through the site and making changes based on that. Okay, so it is 8:47. We're doing pretty good on time. I like to talk, so I knew I'd probably be here with you for about an hour. Hopefully you're still out there. I can't see you, but hopefully you are still with us. So a couple other things I want to talk about before we get off the call is that you can use, how you can use your Sense or your Google Analytics. And I'm going to see if I can actually unscreen share so I can talk to you. Let's see if it wants to let me do that. Yep. Okay, I think we're going to come back now. Hi, Ian. Okay, so I've got my notes here, and a couple of things I want to talk to you about is that, again, you can use your Google Analytics for your demographics. So make sure you're taking a look at your demographics and seeing what the age range is, and make sure your marketing is really tied to that life stage and that customer base. Or on the flip side, if you really are looking for a higher end or an older demographic, for example, that you get into some events or whatnot that will help you get the demographic that you're after. Also, you can change your advertising if you do any paid advertising midstream. Now, I have a YouTube video out there that if you're interested, let me know and I'll get it to you. And it's all about how to do Facebook advertising. And the great thing about Facebook advertising is just like Google Analytics, I used it for clients that were small entrepreneurs like us, all the way up to our big businesses or big credit unions or big hospitals. And so Facebook advertising is great because you can set a budget, you can set a time period, and you can start that budget only $5. I'm only spending about $5 a day. So I think that for those 3 New Zealand recruits, I've only spent about less than $100 total on that investment, a lot more in time for sure on that investment. And one other thing I want to say about that is if you decide that you want to do some Facebook advertising, or if you get really excited after this call and you think, I want to go and market in New Zealand too, one thing I want to say is you have to be committed to the plan, and you have to think it all the way through. So you can't just say, I want some recruits in New Zealand too. I'm going to go spend $100 in Facebook advertising and expect to get recruits out of it. You have to really think through the whole process, forge relationships, think about everything that you post on your wall, no matter what. You have to think about the people that you are bringing into your Facebook and what brand you are portraying to them. So it has to be on your mind all the time. So it's a commitment. And also recruiting internationally is a commitment in itself. I've been staying up till 2 in the morning just about every day, just for example, because we are 18 hours difference from New Zealand. And so if I'm up till 2, that at least gets me to late afternoon, early evening with them. And so that is a commitment. Also learning the peg rate, so the difference between the PRV versus their money is different. They have different products, different catalog. New Zealand, Australia is even in a totally different season than we are. They're in their autumn, winter catalog. So before you get really excited, you have to make sure that you are committed, because otherwise it's literally just throwing money out the window. And I don't want this training to be that. Okay, so also make sure that you were looking at those cities. That's one of my favorite things, is those geographics and looking at those locations and then doing something about it. So if you see that you have some visitors from a specific city and you've been talking to that person about joining, then go have another conversation with them, because you know they're interested. They're coming to your website. And so that's giving you the invitation to contact them and to set up a coffee and have a conversation. Next is optimize your post with the Google Analytics data that you are collecting. So you want to make sure that you are looking at how your ads or your posts are performing, not necessarily your ads. I know not everybody can do advertising, and I don't do it all the time. This is the first time I've done paid advertising in probably 8 months. So this is just something I'm doing right now, so it's why I'm talking a lot about it. You can do a lot with unpaid advertising, but just make sure that your post that you're putting out there, that you are going and looking at your Google Ads or your Google Analytics, and you are making sure that you're getting the results that you want. And you're looking at things like the time of day that you posted, and you're looking at things like the demographics and what is getting the most likes and the most hits. Is it photos? Is it videos? Is it quizzes? Is it something? Is it humorous posts? Is it interactive post? What is it? And duplicate that exact thing that you're doing, because that is what is driving traffic to your website, and that's what you want. Okay. Also, you want to, we talked about that time of day a little bit. One thing I didn't show you on your traffic report is that whenever you have that chart that shows you your traffic that has all of the spikes, you can roll over those spikes and you can see the exact day. And then you can click on the time of day. You know what? Let me screen share that because I want to really show you. And that'll be the last thing I screen share you with. Let's see. And then we'll hop off the call. But I do want to show you. Let's see. Let me find my screen share page. Okay, here we are. So what I want to show you is that when you go home and you go back to your demographic, you go back to your dashboard, you can click on hourly, day, week, and month. So if you clicked on hourly, then I can see what time period people are most likely coming to my website. And for me personally, the days for me that are really good are Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, oh, and Saturdays are really good. So Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays are really low days for me. And so I can make sure that when I am putting posts out that, that I do it around those days. And also if I send an email blast out, then I do it around those time periods. And I can also see what time of day is actually working best for them by looking at those hours. So I can see where my spikes are. And you probably want to change your date on this to a smaller time range to look at this a little bit closer to see. But in general, I see that I get spikes first thing in the morning when people go into work. I see spikes at lunchtime, and I see spikes after people put their kids to bed around 8. And that's specifically why I decide to do my online Facebook parties at 8 p.m. is because Google Analytics tells me to do it. And so Google Analytics tells me a lot about my business, and that's what I wanted to share with you today. So again, if you have questions, please feel free. You can just comment in the YouTube video in the comment section below, and I will make sure to answer each and every one of your questions. And I'm sure if you have the question, several others do too, so don't be shy about those. And of course, if you are on the group Facebook page, you can post them there too. Just make sure to tag me so I can make sure to answer those for you. Okay. Thanks again for your time this evening and hanging out with me, and I really appreciate it. And I'll unscreen share here so I can just wave goodbye. Thanks again, and I hope you learned a little something, and we'll talk soon. Okay,